On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, SGA has a phenomenal, incredible third quarter. We'll dive into it. Jalen Williams gets more aggressive, and that injury bug is biting OKC as they fall late to Minnesota again. But the season series wraps up between the Timberwolves and Thunder. We'll recap it all right now on the Locked On Thunder podcast.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, media member, and editor-in-chief over at ThunderousIntentions.com, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, brought to you by BetOnline, we are going to dive into yet another close loss for the Oklahoma City Thunder. SGA has an epic third quarter. Jalen Williams is more aggressive. Eugene Omoruyi absolutely loves the City Edition jerseys. Plus, is there a way for the NBA to fix their officiating? And Tre Mann continues to lack minutes. Plus, we're going to hit on Aaron Wiggins and Josh Giddy as well. Plus, how this game just unfolded overall. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this year with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. Let's start the way we always do with our game overview. Chet Holmgren out for the season. Ousmane Dieng out at least 6 weeks with a wrist injury. Same wrist he hurt in Summer League, but different injury, not related. Kenny Hustle out with that knee sprain. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl out with an ankle sprain. He's considered week to week. I would assume that Kenny Hustle is listed at day to day, but aren't we all? Kenny Hustle was out there warming up before the game, which is a good sign in terms of the plan to play or progression to play program, if you will, whenever he's out there taking some warm-ups in front of the home crowd. Darius Bazley had a non-COVID illness, which popped up on Friday, which obviously limits them with all the other injuries. Mark, after the game, said he's pretty sick, so that does not sound promising to play tomorrow. Jalen Williams was a DNP CD, and maybe the coaches just feel like he's not ready at this point. I mean, with all these injuries and he's still not playing, I think that there's just a program that the Thunder have in mind for him that they're not going to deviate from no matter the circumstances. And you have to respect putting what you think is best for the player over just throwing him into the fire in a random game like this just due to injury. For the Timberwolves, they were without Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns, and D'Lo. The Thunder start out with SGA, Josh Giddy, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, and Poku. However, Wiggins ends up playing more minutes than Lou Dort because Lou Dort left with a sprained wrist. That's a quick turnaround. No matter how severe the sprained wrist is or isn't, it's a quick turnaround to play again tomorrow against Memphis, so I would assume he's not going to play, but we'll have to wait and see the injury report, which of course will come out later. Because it's back-to-back, they don't have to report it until, I believe it's about 1 o'clock local time, so about 2:30 you should see the report come in for if these players will or will not play in this game against Memphis. The biggest storyline from this game, I think, is the third quarter and is SGA's third quarter more specifically. SGA drops 23 third quarter points, 2 assists in the quarter, a rebound, a steal, 7 for 7 at the free throw line, 63% from the floor, never left the floor in that third quarter. That third quarter featured a closing sequence where SGA knocks down this incredibly tough mid-range jumper. The Thunder get a steal in the inbound, kick it back out to Wiggins, who knocks down a buzzer-beating 3, and the crowd just erupted. And it wasn't even a tremendous crowd out there at the Paycom Center. We got to do a lot better as Thunder fans getting out to the Paycom Center. But still, everyone collectively just losing their mind on the Wiggins 3 where the Thunder take the lead. It's the buzzer beater going into the fourth quarter. The lights go out, and it turns all blue in there. It's just an epic atmosphere. And it was probably the loudest it's been this season so far in the Paycom Center. For that moment, that was a heck of a sequence by OKC. SGA finishes with 35 points, 7 rebounds in the game, 5 assists in the game, a steal, shot 47% from the floor, 3 for 5 from 3, 10 of 12 at the line. Did a phenomenal job as always, splitting the defense, getting to the rim, just these difficult mid-range jumpers that I just have no idea how they go in. So many great passes and spray outs and bounce passes inside to the low block for an easy layup. Just showed his overall good playmaking in this game and improved playmaking. I mean, it's genuine. Like, SGA this season has improved in literally every area of his game besides his three-point percentage. Other than that, playmaking is up. Rim finishing's up. Mid-range is up. Defense is up. Playmaking, everything is up for him. It's all trending up. Scoring, free throw, rate, it's all up. Percentage and getting to the free throw line, both of them are up. In this season. Now, the Thunder once again shows you how important spacing is because they went on a little bit of a nice offensive flow whenever they put guys like Joe and Wiggins and Lindy and Muscala all out there at the exact same time. And that is another bittersweet moment of the season, kind of, because the Thunder need shooting around Shai. They understand that they need shooting around Shai. It's why they hire Chip England. It's why they draft a guy in Chet Holmgren who shot 40% from three in college. J-Dub has good three-point projections of what he could be in the future. Ousmane Dieng, of course, could be a shooter. Who knows what he's going to turn into in the future. Like, they've invested in the jump shot category for the last couple of seasons. They bring in Isaiah Joe 4 days before the season starts because he's a guy that, with the help of former Sixers, front office member Roseman coming into the Thunder organization this offseason, he kind of targeted Isaiah Joe as a guy that can shoot. Like, they understand that they need shooting, and they're going to continue to build upon shooting. And why it's bittersweet is you have a guy in Chet Holmgren who's going to shoot 40% from three in college and is going to shoot very well from three in the NBA, sitting on the bench, hurt. You have another 2023 first-round pick in a draft class that is loaded with shooting talent, so you're likely going to spin it on a guy that can actually shoot from beyond the arc. That's two different guys you're going to add back to this lineup that can really space the floor and really help you shoot. You see the progression from Josh Giddy from beyond the arc, 1 for 4 tonight, but the overhaul that he's seen from beyond the arc, despite only working with Chip England for half an off season so far, because you can't really tweak your shot in season, like that is so encouraging for the future of his game. And the Thunder understand they need to invest in shooting. They're going to invest in shooting, and the lineups that have shooting around Shai are just excellent lineups. And at the end of the game, he had to intentionally miss a free throw at the end, and Mark said that was Mark's call, that Mark told SGA to miss the free throw because the team didn't have a timeout left. And so Mark explained, had they had a timeout left, he would just had Shai make the free throw, they foul, put Minnesota on the line, and then they call a timeout, advance the ball. But since they couldn't advance the ball after the foul, he thought it was best to just miss the free throw, hope that you get it back, kind of the old Russell Westbrook, Steven Adams play. Obviously, it didn't work out that way. And so that's what Mark said after the game. I asked Shai. So I asked Shai after the game, I said, hey, have you ever practiced missing a free throw? Like, have you ever worked on that at all in your career, at practice, at whatever it is? And he said, no. And then he kind of laughed and said, I've never practiced missing a free throw before. And it showed. It showed. That's the one thing that Shai can't do. Shai cannot intentionally miss a free throw very well. Did not get the good carom, if you will, after the game was over. Shai was great with that answer, and it's a tough spot, right? It's a tough situation to be in because, if you intentionally miss it and don't get it back, you missed it for no reason. The Thunder still had to try to go to the length of the floor. It ends with a Josh Giddy, half-court shot that could have, that without intentionally missing, you might have had a millisecond more to kind of work the ball and make an extra pass maybe off of the Giddy rebound on the missed free throw. Who knows what could have happened? I understand the explanation from Mark, and I think that that's a very valid one. And I think that it just shows how calculated each and everything is. This is not going to be a tried and true strategy for Mark. It's going to be, hey, do I have timeouts left? How does my team do running the length of the floor and getting a set three-point shot? Like, all of these things go into it, and it was just so happened to be best for the team to intentionally miss the free throw. But that's the update on how that all unfolded. Let's talk Jalen Williams' aggression. Let's talk how he played in this game overall, playing in multiple roles on the offensive end. But first, I want to tell you right now about our good friends over at the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign. Look, let's just say you're hanging out with some friends and you're putting a few drinks back. A few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think about calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. what are the odds that you're going to get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Everyone knows about the risk of drunk driving, but the results are often tragic and deadly. However, that still does not stop everyone from getting behind the wheel under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. It takes one mistake to change your life and or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. Also, I want to say right now, but your friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is incredible. It is a daily fantasy app that is made easy for you. It's awesome to use. You can go there right now on the app, PrizePicks, or PrizePicks.com, and download the app or go to the website. You get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on the promo code Locked On. So check them out today. What it is, in typical daily fantasy sports, right? You get into these pool of players, you don't know who they are, and they could be people that are just snakes, and they go in there and they spend their whole life getting these formulas and these numbers and everything to dictate who the best matchups will be. None of that stuff happens at PrizePicks. What PrizePicks is it's just you versus the projected numbers. So let's say tomorrow night in Memphis, against Memphis in Oklahoma City, SGA over under 20 points. You say, hey, I think he's going to score 21 or more points. You just bet the over, and you just sit back and watch, see what happens. And if he does hit the over, you win. So go to PrizePicks.com right now, or the app. Use the code LOCKEDON for 100% deposit match guarantee up to $100, and check them out today. PrizePicks.com and the PrizePicks app. We are back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your teams every day. I am your host, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Thank you so much for making Locked On Thunder your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast for the games that matter most and the biggest stories in sports. Go beyond the box score and behind the scenes with local experts and insight that only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app that you're listening to right now, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcast from, just like the Locked On Thunder podcast is. So go subscribe to us on YouTube, comment on YouTube, like on YouTube, and everything else that you want to say. Now, comment on YouTube right now and tell me what you think about SGA's third quarter. What were your feelings heading into the fourth quarter? Jalen Williams, a lot more aggressive in this game, and he had to do a lot of different stuff. So in this game overall, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Now, here's the thing. I've been talking a lot about each half shot attempts for Jalen Williams. And in this game, there's no different. 7 first half shots, 3 free throws. And that's all in the first half. In the second half, 1 shot and 1 free throw trip. And before the game, Mark talked about the different spectrum of players. And it's kind of like a number line. And on the left side of the number line, you have players who just want to fit in, players who just want to blend in with your team. On the right side of your number line, you have players who are just ultra aggressive. I'm going to go get a bucket. I am better than you. I'm going to go initiate and get mine. And where you want them to meet at is in the middle. That's where you want them to be. And so Mark talked about how J-Dub is an ultra fit-in guy. And a guy like Lou Dort is an ultra aggressive guy. And you want to respectively push them toward the middle and pull them toward the middle. And so for J-Dub, that's getting more aggressive. For Lou Dort, that's kind of fitting in more than being ultra aggressive. And I thought that was a good way to explain it whenever he was talking about these two players, but also just NBA life in general. Because every NBA player falls into one of those two categories. You either lean closer to an ultra aggressive guy or lean closer to an ultra team fit in, don't make waves guy. And for J-Dub, I think that he's going to get there. I think he's going to get closer to the middle, and I think that he can even go from the middle to a little bit into the green area of aggressive. Because of the personality that we're seeing off the floor, I think that that personality is going to translate eventually to him being somebody who's aggressive. And you saw that in this game, and I want to point out that it's not just the shot attempts in general. Now the last few games, it's been just the shot attempts. This game, though, despite the shot attempts looking the same, one half is 5, 6, 7 shots. The other half is 1 shot. Despite that, he still was more aggressive because he was asked to be in that lead ball handler role for certain stretches of this game, which I hope continues to happen because I'm about process over results. Now, J-Dub got ripped 3 times. He had 4 turnovers. But I still want to see more of him being the main ball handler in the pick and roll, and the main ball handler whenever there's no Shai or Giddy minutes, and he kind of leads the way. Overall, this game, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He had a nasty tomahawk slam where he just, he got up there on that dunk. 0 for 3 from 3, but I like the confidence to keep pulling it. So J-Dub had a really good game and was more aggressive despite the same trend with his first and second half shot attempts. Aaron Wiggins finally got more runway. In this game, he played 27 minutes. So for people like me who have been complaining about the lack of Aaron Wiggins minutes, Wiggins got 27 minutes in this game. He scored 14 points, 6 rebounds, and assists, went 2 for 5 shooting from 3, 54% from the floor. Really high IQ player and just makes winning plays. It's like the Tim Tebow run, like the magical Tim Tebow run in Denver. You can't truly describe it. You're just left saying he's a winner. With Wiggins, like, he can score at all 3 levels. He can facilitate, whenever if you need him to, or if you don't want to go as far as a facilitator or playmaker, you can say he keeps the offense in rhythm. He keeps the offense in flow. He's not a ball stopper. Defensively, plays his role very well on defense. Like he plays really good defense. This is a guy that just wins games. He knows when to make the extra pass. He knows when to pull the contested shot. He knows when to cut. He knows when to do everything. He just knows and is aware of his surroundings and is aware of when and why you should do certain things, get certain looks. And he just has an understanding of the game that I think is pretty rare. So Wiggins got that longer runway, made winning plays, and of course hit that buzzer-beating 3 down the stretch. Josh Giddy had a double-double again, 11 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 50% from the floor, 1 for 4 from 3. He had this beautiful spinning baseline floater that I absolutely will watch 50 million times before tomorrow's game. He had the amazing pass which set up the backdoor cutting J-Dub tomahawk slam that we talked about before. The spinning pass where it looked like he was dead to rights and going to spin into a turnover and then just beautifully finds J-Dub. I think that comes from a lot of different avenues. So the first one is just Josh Giddey's sheer passing ability. Like, if you can't make that pass, it doesn't matter. So he has to be able to make that pass, and he did. The second avenue is, of course, J-Dub cutting to the rim and understanding, hey, my guy's in trouble, I got to go cut. The third thing is, though, and why I think that this is going to be something that you can bank on moving forward, is just familiarity with each other and understanding where and when guys are going to be, where they're going to be, and when to expect a pass. So I don't think that this play can happen, despite these 2 things being true. Josh Giddey's an excellent passer, and Jalen Williams is a great cutter. Despite those 2 things being true all season long, I don't think that this could have happened in October because you just don't have that timing down. Because to make this work, like, go back and watch that pass. It was not just a fancy, incredible pass. It was on the money, and if it's a second later or a second earlier, there's no anything. It goes out of bounds. It's over. It's a turnover. To get that connection comes with playing time together, comes with practices together. And so as they continue to get more comfortable, you can start to see the Thunder utilize those cuts from J-Dub, those passes from Josh Giddy, maybe even see some pick and roll with J-Dub and Josh Giddy, or pick and pop, whatever it is. That'd be insanely cool to see. But you're starting to see this team get more familiar with each other, and so they can make plays like that as a unit. And the interesting part, or the fun part, is all these guys are going to be here for the next 9, 8, 7, 5 years. Like, think about the entire core of this team. You're either on a 5-year deal or a 9-year deal or anywhere in between. Like, this is going to be a long time coming and growing and understanding each other's game. And I think that this was a good example of it, this play of Josh Giddy and J-Dub. Eugene Omoruyi. I'm going to say he loves the City Edition uniforms. I didn't want to ask him this silly question after a loss, so I didn't truly ask him if he loves the City uniforms. I say that because Eugene, awful stretch entering tonight. We can all admit he'd admit awful stretch. But tonight, 21 minutes, only 2 missed shots, 1 inside, 1 outside the arc. So 75% overall from shooting. 5 rebounds, an assist, 3 steals, 14 points. Eugene Omoruyi, in the Friday night City Edition uniforms at home, 36 points. Eugene Omoruyi in all other Thunder uniforms, 38 points. Makes you think. It was cool, though. Eugene played his role fairly well. Was using this in the center role in a lot of lineups, which I think it's a tough look for him in terms of, like, he's put in a bad spot, but he's scrapping, he's trying his hardest. That's really all you can ask for. Overall, fine game from Eugene Omoruyi, especially after that blistering cold stretch that he just was on after being recalled from the G League. But I want to reiterate, it is difficult to go back and forth and play with different teammates and get reintegrated into the team. The Thunder do a great job of trying their best to make that seamless by keeping terminology the same, keeping play style the same, keeping all these different averages the same, but you can't quite simulate playing with these different players and the different pace of an NBA game versus the G League game, etc. So I think that it was a good sign from him to play this way, but of course the cold stretch had a little bit to do with just kind of getting readjusted to NBA life versus G League life. I'm going to tell you right now, very good friends over at BetOnline. BetOnline is incredible, folks. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all sports betting info, stats, news, breakdowns. Get the latest odds and trends in every professional and amateur league out there, from pro and college football to pro and college basketball, World Cup, whatever you want. It's there at BetOnline.net. If you love sports podcasts, they're there as well at BetOnline.net. And it's the fastest and best way to bet on all of your sport action. BetOnline is where the game starts. You can bet on tonight's Thunder-Memphis game. The Thunder are 7-point underdogs at home against Memphis. Go bet on that game as well. Other nice games to bet on: New Orleans and the Suns. They're playing again. Goodness gracious, that's the cool version of Thunder Wolves. Like, Thunder Wolves have played 4 times already, and their season series is over, but it was Thunder Wolves. The Pelicans and Suns playing all these games in a row is awesome because they have these incredible games whenever they play together. So the Pelicans are actually 3-point dogs in Phoenix on Saturday, so go check that out as well. But check out BetOnline and go there right now because BetOnline is where the game starts. We are back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I am your host, Rylan Stiles. You can follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Thank you so much for making Locked On Thunder your first listen. Subscribe for free on YouTube and any other podcasting platforms that you are on. And now let's talk Tre Mann. Only played 7 minutes. 7 minutes, 0 for 2 from the floor, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. Now, he was a little hobbled a bit after that 3-point attempt where he landed on the floor, and he was kind of walking a little bit gingerly and kind of rubbing his ankle a little bit. But no one ever mentioned that as an injury, like the PR staff didn't on Twitter, and like that Mark didn't say at postgame. Like, I don't think he's injured. I think that was just kind of a thing to watch for tomorrow's injury or report in general. So this just seems like yet again another game in which he didn't get minutes. And he is on a terrible spell right now for him. And the question becomes what to do. And I don't envy Sam Presti and Mark who have to make these decisions. On one hand, yeah, send him to the blue. Let him light it up in the blue and get right in the blue. They're going to go to the G League Showcase on the 19th. Like, let him go to Vegas. Let him get right with OKC Blue. That's one option. Another option is you sit him down there, and before he even gets there, he views it as a demotion, and you lose him. You just totally lose him. And the next option is he goes down there, tries to accept that role, and he fails in the blue, and then you lose him again. Like, so the fourth option would be just keeping him in the NBA, bouncing in and out of the rotation, and you just hope that eventually one game he'll see one go in as a shooter. You see a couple go in a random game on Sunday, and all of a sudden on Wednesday you're playing a lot better. There's really 4 options here, and I can justify the Thunder keeping him up in Oklahoma City with the NBA team, and also sending him to the blue. I can justify either one, and those are the toughest decisions to make. When you can justify either side of the coin, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, kind of. So that's kind of how I view the Tre Mann situation. I also want to talk about the officials real quick. I obviously don't talk about the officials very much, but I just wonder, after 2 straight games of tough calls down the stretch that impacted the game and impacted who won this game, Oklahoma City players are obviously underrated. They're not going to get superstar calls. They're not going to get the favor of the whistle besides SGA. SGA draws a ton of fouls, top 3 in the league in drawing fouls. He'll get a ton of calls. No one else will. The Thunder also get the least experienced NBA crews of any NBA team, bottom 5 crew, bottom 5 team in terms of getting experienced crews. But what can the NBA do to fix this? Because I totally get the Thunder not getting experienced crews. Like, it's just the way the business works. Where else are you going to get these guys experience, right? Like, you can talk down on the Thunder or comment about how, well, of course the NBA is going to give the Thunder these. Well, they've got to figure out a way to give them experience somehow, and you're not going to put them on ABC Saturday night. And so the Thunder, who don't play on ABC Saturday night, are going to get these guys, some run. These people some run. My question is, though, how can it be fixed? Number one, I think fixing challenge goes a long way in this. Granted, the Thunder lost their challenge tonight, so this is not about tonight's game, it's about in general. If you win your challenge, you should get a challenge back. You should just retain the timeout, retain the challenge as well. Also, I think under 2 minutes, contact and fouls should be a replay trigger for referees. Why are we worried about pace of play? Why are we worried about time spent watching or at the game or playing the game at the cost of the product, at the cost of who wins and who loses, at the cost of the competition? The NBA goes incredibly fast. The NBA is the fastest professional league out there. They can afford to have a couple reviews in the last 2 minutes of a game if it will turn around who wins the contest. The Thunder are now on a 5-game losing streak when they could have been on a 2-game winning streak if you have these automatic reviews. And we'll see. The last 2-minute report came out after the Miami game saying that the Thunder should have had the free throws at the end with Josh Giddy pushing the back. What does that do? What does that matter? It's great to take accountability for it. And it's better than the alternative. And again, it's the NBA being put in a spot where they're in a rock and a hard place. Either they take accountability for it and you still yell at them, or they dodge accountability. They don't ever admit that they were wrong. You dog them for that. So it's just in a catch-22 here with how the officiating goes in the NBA. But I think that the quick fixes would be keep your challenge if you win. In under 2 minutes, anything is reviewable if the officials deem it's worthy. If the officials say, we might have missed that. There might be more time left on the clock. Let's go look at that again. They should be able to. Not just on who the ball was last out on anything. Because the NBA has won pace of play. They've won the fastest sports league. They've won the social media league. Right? That's the beauty of the NBA. You've already won the younger demographic as everyone besides the NFL struggles to do that. Like the NBA and NFL are the only ones that can win the younger demographic. So at the cost of who wins and loses these games, we're worried about, let's not have too many reviews. It's just silly to me. And maybe, that's just off of these 2 ref games, but I don't think that these are unreasonable requests for the NBA to do. So the Thunder lose this game. The Timberwolves once led by 14 points. OKC once led by 5. There were 14 lead changes in this game, 10 times tied. OKC had 2 more rebounds. The Thunder turned the ball over 22 times compared to the Timberwolves' just 16 turnovers. However, the Thunder were on the right side of the wrong side, if you will. I've been pointing this out the last couple of games, but this time it benefits the Thunder. Despite committing more turnovers, the Thunder won points off turnovers 29-25. The Thunder also won points in the paint by 4 points. They also won second chance points by 2 points. They also won fast break points 12-8. The Thunder shot 46-29-81. The Wolves shot 49-48-56. The Wolves made 12 threes. Oklahoma City made 11. The Thunder lost the first quarter by 2. Once again, it's the second quarter that dooms them, losing by 11. And then in the third quarter, the Thunder once again dominate to the tune of 41-25 in the third frame. But in the fourth quarter, the Wolves outlast OKC 24-19. By the day, Minnesota wins the bet at plus 4.5. MVP of the game is SGA. Now, here's what's going to come up. So Saturday night into Sunday morning, obviously, we're going to recap the Memphis game. I'm going to give you my hottest take ever in your mailbag on Monday because Friday, a thunderstorm took out the internet. So I didn't get internet back until Friday night whenever I got back from the Wolves game, which is how you're going to hear me right now on this recap podcast. But I will have that episode out for you on Monday. Tuesday, Going to do the Portland recap of the first Portland game, and we're going to be here for you Monday through Friday, including after every game. So subscribe, because we're here for you Monday through Friday and after every single game. Subscribe on YouTube, very important. Subscribe on any other podcasting platform out there that you enjoy. And also, follow me on Twitter at Ryland_Styles. And until tomorrow, be good and be good to one another.